What if your logical, intellectual, problem solving mind that you operate and lead from is actually limiting you? What if you had an access to much more wider human intelligence awareness system that help you actually to take better decisions, create better strategies, make bolder moves, lead more effectively and impactfully your organization and team, and unlock far greater growth in your business with more ease? Sounds too optimistic? Let's unpack one of the most important and paradigm shifting operating model, if you like, that I believe every CEO, every executive of a forward-thinking visionary business owner is going to benefit from embracing. Shifting from leading from a logical intellectual mind solely towards leading from a wider human intelligence system, because that is how we're shaping the future and how we break through the limitations. Welcome to Extraordinary Leadership Podcast, a place where bold, visionary, and conscious leaders rise. I'm Dagmara Asbreuk, executive and transformational coach, speaker, and founder of Extraordinary Leadership Movement. Here, we do not just talk about leadership, we redefine it, exploring a new paradigm, rooted in aligned energy, powerful presence, and impact in human evolution that allow leaders, businesses, and cultures to thrive. So if you're ready to lead differently and shape the future of leadership and success from the highest place of self, then you are in the right place. Because extraordinary leadership comes from within. And so let us rise together.
In this episode, I want to unpack why our mind actually limits us.
What is that whole human intelligence system that every human being has on access to, and how you can start to practically utilize it, and how it serves you, your organization, your business, and your team. So let us start. Now, I was preparing this episode yesterday by walking in the park and, tuning into what I really want to share with you. And I was noticing how much I changed in a sense of, how I operate, how I lead. I was one of those leaders for a very, very long time that led and operated from the logical mind predominantly. I was trained on, thriving on an intellectual space, of course, from the school and then through all the different roles I had in my corporate career. And so every problem, any challenge, any strategy, any next action, I was thinking through. I was figuring out. And yes, I remember many, many moments that I found myself in paralysis analysis, right? In overthinking, overdoing that, in also confusion, in asking myself a question, which way to go, and trying to find the solutions in my mind. And so years later now, from where I stand, over the years, expanding my own consciousness and getting access to those different and sometimes really paradigm shifting intelligence system that me as a human and you as a human we have, has been really transformational and has created a new way of leading and operating that I'm operating currently from. And I think wide and definitely the way I'm leading my business, serve my clients, coach people, and partner with leaders, and definitely what kind of access I'm giving as well my clients towards to, right? I want to start by sharing about this limitation of the mind, right? Limitation of the mind that we have. When I'm thinking about the mind and why logical mind is limiting us, very important for me to share with you is this. Your mind loves to operate from what it knows. It loves predictability, it loves safety, it loves control, it loves familiarity. And if you like, your mind is storing a lot of evidence from the past, from what it experienced. And a lot of assumptions are there. Of course, a lot of limiting beliefs are there. A lot of shortcuts are there that mind and brain is creating. And so knowing that, if we only tap to our logical mind, we kind of like trying to create the future from the past. It's a fact. Because we are sourcing, if you like, the database of our mind, which is a logical mind, intellectual mind, which is basically based on data from the past. That is where our mind, logical mind, intellectual mind is sourcing. And so it's also very difficult for a logical, intellectual mind to paint the future. The prediction that our logical mind is creating is always based on the past. And so if we only operate on this logical mind part of ourselves, We are always going to create the future from the past, and to some extent create through that a limitation, because the new growth that we aspire in our organization and business might be not linear, might be exponential, might be 10x. And if you are one of those persons that want a 10x growth, then it will be very hard to create it from your logical mind, because your logical mind have not been there, and it will have a limitation to create the path to reach that. The second interesting fact about the mind is this, that we don't perceive everything through our mind. Our mind is actually filtering the information that we perceived. Literally, the brain has a reticular activating system. There's a part of our brain that is filtering what we can see. And from different science, there is a very, very small fraction, like 1%, that we can actually perceive through our human mind what is really in front of us, the reality, the information, the data. There's quite a lot happening right now, right here, which is invisible to our human mind, logical mind, and it's filtered through our inner filters. One of those filters are beliefs, conscious or subconscious, limiting or empowering. It also explains why, whenever we talk about or strategize with our teams, everybody or many people might have a different opinion about the way of proceeding, because everybody is sitting at the table with its own filters shaped by the past, experiences, where we come from, narratives, and again, good or bad. But we are all wired differently. And so our mind, if we just, try to decide based on what our mind is telling us, we're going to be taking a decision based on a limited perception. Because again, we just perceive through our filters. And if we just think about the beliefs that we hold, conscious and unconscious, about ourselves, about the organization, about where we are with our business, where beliefs about our employees, beliefs about anything, the way our brain mind operates is like we always seek for proofs. So this reticular activating system is always trying to prove our beliefs. In other words, what we hold as beliefs, conscious and unconscious, we always see in our physical reality. We always find proofs for those beliefs, in other words. And it will be always difficult for this logical and analytical mind to find proofs for something else, which means we're just seeing the fraction. We don't see the possibility, the bigger picture. We only see through this lens. And so that is how a mind is creating limitation. Not to mention that mind loves to paint stories and, on autopilot, repeated thoughts and different patterns of our mind sabotage, narratives, trying to make sense of what's going on. And very often that are not the correct interpretations of the mind. But the mind loves to have, a control, a sense of, I need to understand what is now going on. And so mind is going to create a lot of different narratives. And again, depending on your conditioning, on your wiring, on your patterns that are going inside, you're going to have different thoughts and narratives. Very often they are repeating itself in certain situations, if you would observe them. And you're going to be in those loops. And finally, obviously, you probably experience when you trigger your mind, your prefrontal cortex, the one that is, for clear thinking, for intellectual, conceptual decisions, problem solving thinking, is switching off, and your mind is going to the survival part of itself, limbic brain. And all of a sudden, a cutoff from creativity, from wide angle. You have a tunnel vision. You are going in catastrophizing, in worrying about the future, in comparison, in confusion, in overthinking. Those are, just happening by you being triggered and in a threat, right? In a survival, under stress, under pressure. So this is how your mind is going to operate, because it cares about, survival first. So it's important to understand this awareness, this wisdom, this space about how our mind operates and how the mind can create for us a limitation of what we actually perceive, what we see as what's the situation, and what we can see what's the possibilities, and how the mind actually, it's fascinating, right, can log us in a certain repeated cycles of thinking and ways of how we approach to new challenges, because it loves familiarity and lives there. So That is by itself how, if we only source all the solutions from the mind, we're going to live in some kind of limitation. And it's even Albert Einstein that said, you cannot solve the problem with the same mind, right? So something else we need to source. We need to get to the next level of thinking, if you like, which will help us to navigate the challenges that we're confronted with. Either in business, if something doesn't work, with our people that we live with, something doesn't work, or we just want to reach more ambitious or better, bigger goals. We need to start to think differently. We need to start out of the box, sometimes we say. So, how do we do that? How do we go over with this awareness of the limitation of the mind, logical, intellectual mind, who is always going to predict the future from the past, and who is going always to keep you in certain repetition of situations and repetition of a way of thinking and then a way of behaving and a way of acting and a way of results, or what kind of results you achieve. So now, if you want really to go to 10x, if you want to find next level, executive role, if you want to bring your team, your organization to the next level of operating together, more cohesive, high performing team, you need to access different intelligence system that you have access to beyond your logical mind. Before we continue our episode, I want to share with you something special. It's end of the year, you're preparing strategically, intentionally for the next year to come. Your next level goals and vision with your organization and business that you want to lead towards to will require your next level thinking, leading, showing up. And so if you want to step into this next year with more clarity, conviction, and awareness to lead you effectively, then I want to invite you to the Legacy Calibration Call, a strategic private conversation that will help you sharpen clarity of your direction and next steps and identify the leverage points from which you can lead your organizations. If that speaks to you, the link is below. And for now, let's continue this episode. So let us talk what are those kind of intelligence systems that you have access to. Number one, your body. And there's a lot of awareness in your body going on. Most of the leaders are disconnected from the body. I have been for years also not utilizing and understanding how to utilize the wisdom from the body. So it's very normal. We're not really given that, let me say, support in many of trainings, leadership programs, and developments that we go through. Now, I want, for the purpose of this episode, only focus on two areas which are very common, very, very powerful, that we have, access to in our body. One is the heart, and the other is the gut. And both parts of our body, if you like, have its own brain, has its own intelligence system, and both are faster than the mind. Your heart is the place where the truth lies. It's the place where you source empathy and compassion, which is very, very important in leadership, right? When we lead people, this is from this place that we need to access this energy, this power of our heart to take decisions about humans, decisions, and not only decisions, but also when we are leading people, we need to access this wisdom and that energy of the heart. Now, heart is the strongest electromagnetic signal from the body because we all emanate energy. And heart is the place of the strongest signal, which means that this is through heart, right? That part, people feel you before you speak. And people sense if it is safe to be with you or not. This is through the heart coherence that you create a psychological safety and trust. You can not create it from just leading from the intellectual mind. You can talk about it, you can grasp the concept, you can be aware about what psychological safety is. But if you're unable to connect with your heart, it will be hard for you to create that space and to, in other words, be in that energy, coherent energy, so that people feel safe with you. And when they feel psychologically safe, they feel trusted, they are going to be themselves. They are going to open up. They are going to give in. They are going to be engaged. They are going to be much more on board and much more taking ownership. So it's very important. And you can also, of course, source many decisions through connecting with the wisdom of your heart. Now, for God is also an interesting part of the intelligence system, awareness of the God. I mean, this is like a first signal that you feel in your body. So, for example, the discomfort that you feel because something is misaligned, something is not, we call it a gut feeling. This is sensed there, right? In the gut area. So this is like the first sensor of something is a threat, potential threat. But it's actually the same sensor that we sense through when we are invited to take a bolder step, an action that is in alignment with our vision, with our next steps, but stretching us, right? It's uncomfortable as well. This is because we are entering the growth zone. We're going out of a comfort zone. So when we talk about gut, it's very important to learn how to discern, how to distinguish between those two whenever we feel discomfort there, right? Because discomfort is a signal. The body is telling us something. But we need to learn to discover, is it not right decision, move, person, and all of the things for us? Or is that the discomfort for a big action, big, bold, aligned action that we are invited to take in order to move forward? Maybe that conversation, the honest conversation that you need to take with your employee or with your peer or stakeholder, or that discomfort of verbalizing something in your meeting with the board, with your leadership team. This also, we sense this discomfort in the gut, right? So that is another type of discomfort. So this is a very important intelligence system that tells us, are we out of alignment or are we actually in discomfort because we're growing? So that's also an information, right? And an awareness that we can pick up by listening to this part of our body. So those two are very important. And of course, our mind, our heart, and our gut are connected. And if our heart is in coherence and our gut and nervous system is in safety, then our mind is more clear. Then we have less noise. Then we are more in a calm confidence, grounded confidence state, and create more safety and grounded confidence in the meetings that we enter. And through that, we actually make an impact. We influence how the meeting goes on. Because it's when we come with this grounded, regulated state and coherent state into this meeting, everybody else will start to attune to that so-called energetic frequency. And that is the genius in it itself. That when we regulate our state, when we put ourselves into coherence, we actually make an impact. This is how we influence how other people respond to us and how the meeting goes. And also, when we ask and connect with our heart and gut, we get information, data points, intuitive knowing, wisdom within ourselves beyond the logical mind. That will help us to assess if this is the right move and if this is the right decision. And here is the final thing I want to share with you, which is I'm very fascinated about. When we are in the state of coherence, when our heart is in coherence, our gut and our nervous system is in grounded state, and our mind is clear and not noisy and not overthinking and not, taking us away and we feel like restless, we start to have an access to the other part of our mind and to other possibilities beyond the logical mind. This is where actually limitless potential exists. This is when we can connect with our creative, intuitive mind, which can give us a possibility to connect us to potential visionary thinking and actually to quantum reality, if you like, energetic reality that is happening as we speak, because we live in two parallel realities. The physical reality that is perceived through our senses is the one reality that we see right now, right here. And then there is a quantum reality, so-called energetic reality, because as quantum physics already discovered, everything is energy. We emanate energy. Every object is at the quantum subatomic level energy. And so we live in a world which is invisible, but it's happening equally, of frequency, energetical frequencies. Everything has its different frequency, energetic frequency. And energetic frequency is information. And so when we are going into this creative and visioning intuitive mind and connecting with the future that we want to create as visionary leaders, we are actually connecting with the possibility that already exists in a quantum. So what we are imagining is not just something delusional. We are connecting actually with potential, with something that already exists in a frequency, in energetic form, and something that you can bring into this physical reality by taking actions, but also embodying and becoming the version that can actually create it and shape it, and by mobilizing and orchestrating your organization and team. That is such an important intelligence system when you can go to your creative, visionary part of yourself and paint vividly to be in that potentiality, in that vision that you want to call into. This is very important because this is how you bypass, by the way, your logical mind. And this is where you allow yourself to think bigger, to think quantum, non-linear, to get out of the box thinking. When you get to that part of creativity of yourself, if you like, to that part of your mind, and to that part of visionary thinking, you start to create the future from the future, not from the past. And it's this part of your mind is not about hard thinking. It's about contemplating, visionary. So it also elevates your energy whenever you shape that vision of your team, of your organization, of your business, of your life. You are literally shifting your vibrational state, your energy. And that by itself gives you a possibility to get different ideas, get different information far beyond what your logical mind can actually come up with. And this is when you come with breakthrough thinking. And this is how I and clients that work with me create strategy and shape more next bold moves. Because this is the place from which we source it, if you like. We connect with that vision. And from that place of vision, shape our strategy, not from the past that we can perceive through our logical mind. So I hope that by now your awareness is growing, you're getting more excited to try this out. And of course, you might ask yourself now the question, how do I practically embrace it? How do I put it in practice? How do I source those different intelligence systems? Number one, regulate your state. You need to build habit of quieting your mind, your logical mind. Also, that's the mind where sabotage live, where conditioning narratives are coming. So the ability to quiet your mind is very important. And yes, there, of course, you can meditate. That is one sort of thing, but also equally, especially very practical during the day at work, breathing, longer deep breaths, or taking a walk, right? Mindful walk, contemplative walk, and also connecting, dropping from the mind to the body scan type of mindfulness meditation is also very helpful. There are many other resources that when I work with leaders, I'm bringing to through the lens of external leadership, but those are the first couple of things that I can guide you at least to. So that's kind of the number one. Get yourself in a grounded, coherent state by quieting your mind. That's one of the way you can achieve that. Now, when you are in this more grounded state, where your mind is quieter, your heart is more in coherence, your gut and your nervous system is more safe, you feel safe more and calm and grounded. This is when you can ask your body for wisdom, for answers, for messages to your questions, to your challenges that you navigate. You can ask your heart if, oh God, if it has a voice, what would it say? Breathing into your heart, breathing into your gut, breathing into there is putting your focus on attention, and whenever you focus on expands. So it's about intentionality. And this question itself is very powerful. If my heart, oh my gut, had a voice, what would it say? Or if my body had a voice, what would it tell me now? What's the message? And from there can be many different scenarios. But just this first question opens you up to the possibility to connect with the wisdom of your body and to get answers from a different place than your logical mind. Bypass it, your logical mind, to be honest. And the final one that I want to invite you to is obviously to warm up the muscle of your creative, visionary thinking. Connect yourself with that possibility that already, the limitless possibility that already vibrationally exists. How can you do that? Ask yourself this question. If what I want and who I want to become was already here, how would I decide to proceed? What would that version of me, that future me, I like to call it highest me, would choose right now? What would this leader choose to be or do or not do? How would that version of me enter the boardroom meeting? How would that version of me take this conversation? This is how you can start to play with that level of thinking. And if you're like going to a visionary mind that is non-linear, that is exponential, and see how this brings you a completely different level of solutions and ideas to the challenges that you face and to the strategy that you shape and how you want to lead your organization, business to the next level, and yourself, of course. So obviously there are so many more ways that you can connect and amplify on that human intelligence and awareness that you have an access to. And with this episode, I wanted to share with you the first that you can really literally start from today and tomorrow to utilize. And I'm very curious to hear, what this episode awakened in you, evoked with you, activated in you, what you're walking out with. I'm curious to hear what you would try from this episode. And if you would like to get support into utilizing, harnessing, even like leveraging on your human intelligence system that you have within your body and mind, and connect with all of those possibilities and lead from a completely different level yourself, your business, your team, your organization, yourself to the next level. Shape a better future, set a new standard as a leader, and lead your team, your organization with more ease as well, then obviously I always invite you to have a conversation with me and to step into one of the pathways of extraordinary leadership. The legacy leader is the latest and greatest what I am shaping and developing and walking leaders through. And I truly believe that shifting from leading from the mind and logical mind towards leading from your whole human intelligence system is the way to access exponential growth, to access leading with more ease and less hustle and less stress and less pressure and less burnout. It is the way that will revolutionize your emotional intelligence and actually give you an access to it. And is the way to become highly impactful legacy leader that the world needs and your organization, your business requires. So if that speaks to you, I invite you to explore how working together could actually help you to make it happen. And for now, thank you very much for watching again. And I look forward to hear from you what you take away, and enjoy this process, and see you next time.